Welcome to the Mighty Dragon podcast. And today I'm joined by director Danny Simmonds to discuss Suffer for Good. Good evening, Mr. Simmonds, or good
Good
morning.
evening. Thank you so much.
Good day.
Yes. Good morrow. Yeah. Good
Good
morning.
whatever.
Yeah. No, I'm drinking my evening cold brew.
Oh, right. Okay. I'll be hitting the wine in a moment. So I'll be
Yes.
joining you there. Thank you for joining me today. You're here to discuss Suffer for Good. And I've also thrown in a few questions about your background as well, and a few other projects you've worked on, which I thought might be quite interesting for our viewers, to the audience to hear about. So first of all, Suffer for Good. What's it all about, this documentary?
Yes. Suffer for Good is about Seb Zaude and his amazing story. It's an inspiring sports documentary, but it's really about family and the will to overcome. Seb, he's a former Olympic boxer who was impacted by the 1984 Olympic boycott that was in retaliation by the Soviet Union because the West boycotted the Moscow Olympics in 1980. And a lot of athletes, were unable to compete in the LA Olympics, and Seb is one of them. So it's ironic that we find him in Los Angeles, 30 plus years later, still with that burning desire and that haunted by that tough punch and like wanting to get back in the ring, wanting to kind of get redemption. And through the documentary, we see like this overarching ethos of like suffer for good is what it really means is there is pain in life and we have to go through it in order to be better people. And I think it relates a lot to values and things that are happening right now and isolation and the pandemic and how we're all having to pivot. So I think that it's very salient to today.
Yes.
And yeah, that's Suffer for Good. I hope people take a look at it. I have the Blu-ray.
Oh,
right here.
fantastic. Absolutely. And how did you two connect together for you to make this documentary?
Yeah, well, we met at in one of Seb's boxing classes. So
Oh, right.
so we both worked at Sony Pictures. He was a boxing trainer. Ironically enough, there are a lot of the studio guys. They take boxing training, and some of them were actually like amateur MMA fighters. And I would see this guy training some people, at lunch, and they were high-level athletes. And I played baseball in college. I, pitched in the College World Series. So I was like, oh, I can do this. This looks fun. It's a new thing. It's a hobby while you're working in the corporate environment. And one day I took a class, and within 5 minutes, he was laughing, like he was almost rolling on the floor about how unathletic and uncoordinated I was. And then within another 5 minutes, he was literally slapping me with these long paddles and hitting me in the face and beating me up. And he's like 5'5", and I'm an ogre. And so I was like, dude, how is this guy even getting to me? And I think I'm athletic, and he's laughing. He's like, oh, you are so slow. You're so tired. You're so out of shape. And I thought I'm like 25. I'm in the best shape of my life, so. And then so I'm like, what is going on? I mean, he's really, making me reflect on what is my identity. And then after that first class, I said, what's your story? Where's your accent from? And I had never heard an accent quite like his.
Okay.
So I was like, are you from Cuba? What is that Spanish? Is it? And he's like, no, it's Amharic. I'm Ethiopian. I was like, oh, okay.
Wow.
Well, tell me about what brought you here to Sony Pictures Gym, all the way from Addis Ababa. And he told me a story. And then from there, I showed up, a week later with a camera. I said, I don't know how to make a doc. He said he told me, he's like, I really want a documentary on my life for my legacy. And I was like, I don't know what that means. I don't know how to really shoot it, but I've shot some travel stuff for my sister, and I'm a man of my word, and I will show up and I will do something and I'll work hard. And a week later I showed up, and bada bing, bada boom, the story kind of unfolds, from there.
Amazing. And would you say that with your boxing training as well, you've got a different insight into the man himself with your learning it yourself and how sort of dedicated he is and, and serious and focused he is and what he would, he obviously got to such an amazing level as a boxer to even be considered for the Olympics. Did you find that yourself with your own boxing training?
Yeah, no,
More?
his yeah, no, it's pretty wild. Within 6 months, I went from not, he was laughing at me within 6 months, and he said, "You need to start fighting." And I was like, he told me, he's like, "You need to do a boxing match yourself." Obviously, in the beginning, it was much more like I'd show up once a week and I'd shoot something, and we would talk about it. But mainly in the beginning, it was training with me shooting a little, here and there, and
Yeah.
thinking maybe I'll put a 2-minute kind of Humans of New York, but for LA together video before
Okay.
Humans in New York did video. This is 2014, 2015. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'll do this cool series on interesting people in LA and what a melting pot this city is and how unique all of the individuals are in this place. And then, so I was shooting it, and he's like, "You need to get in a boxing ring." I'm like, "I am a coward. I am not that brave. It's scary. I'm for sure. I remember I sparred my buddy once in my front yard, and he was a good fighter. He knocked me out. I
Yeah.
didn't even see it coming, and I rolled my ankle, and I was like, I am not that tough.
Yeah.
But it was incredible to see how his expertise translated into teaching me, a complete
Yeah.
novice, from going
Yeah.
from that to where people were actually noticing, like, "Whoa, dude, your hands look good, you look fast, your technique is good." And I
Okay.
did go to other gyms, and I was actually bopping guys my size. I was pretty good.
And how tall are you, Danny? Do you mind me asking how tall you
Yeah,
are?
I'm 6'5". I'm like 6'5", and
Okay.
I'm really, my stats say 6'6", but I'm like 6'5 and 3/4. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
right. Okay.
When I was in high school, I went from 6'5" to 6'8". So they inflate the stats. So it depends on how you're
Yeah.
trying to scare people. Yeah, but I know
Okay.
I'm 6'5". Yeah.
So you've got a good reach then.
Yeah, no, long arms. I've got I think I have my arms are, my arm length is like for someone who's 6'7" or something,
Yeah.
and so that does
Fantastic.
help. But
So, sorry to interject there.
no, that
When you think about sport-related movies such as Rocky and Chariots of Fire
yeah.
and things like that, how do you feel an audience connect with a sport-related movie? Do they find something of themselves in that?
I hope so. I always find that when I'm watching, Chariots of Fire and running and training, it's meditative, and it's something that it's a great way to depict how we feel internally when we're doing something of purpose, right?
Mm,
And I believe that I seek purpose. So I can't tell, what other people seek. And I think sometimes, whether it's some people it's interviewing, some people it's writing and creating things, right? For me, I know that sport and films like Rocky, they help me and inspire me to find my purpose. And I know that it's obviously not real, but the suspension of disbelief gets me out of my head and thinks, okay, here's this guy who's a really average boxer, middle of the road guy, Rocky Balboa, and what he does have is heart. He has grit. He has the spirit. And I find myself like, oh, what am I? I'm an average, creative or whatever. I don't have this perfect understanding of the English language, and I'm not, I wasn't a savant. I have had, obviously I had talent. Everything requires talent, and Rocky Balboa does have talent, but the thing that I admired about that character and what Sylvester Stallone created was that
yeah.
his talent was that he won't quit, and that he'll
Yes.
outwork even, he'll outwork every opponent in the ring, and it's a psychological game. And I think that's what Seb and Suffer for Good, honestly, like it exemplifies, is that your grit, you will endure, and sometimes it's just surviving and going through something. And
Okay.
yeah,
Fantastic. What's your favorite Rocky film?
I gotta say it's definitely, I'm gonna say it now, Creed 1. I know it's really strange, right? I thought he did deserve. I know. I'm gonna say it, Creed. I think Coogler and Michael B. Jordan and even Sylvester Stallone gave his best performance in Creed 1. Creed 2 is really good too. It was just like the perfect marriage of all these, the whole entire franchise. I obviously like Rocky 4. Who doesn't?
Yeah,
I
that's my
want to see.
fave.
Right. I mean, come on, it's tough. It's like they're head
I
and
love
head.
Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah, Dolph. I mean, so I will. I know I was saying that because everyone loves Rocky 4. It's perfect movie. But Creed is so badass. It's just
Yeah,
so
yeah.
so cool. So they're both. I think they're both tied, and we need to have a a rubber match, so to speak.
I think Seb's story you
Mhm.
created as a documentary. Could you see a film being made about his life?
Yeah,
It's
most
been
definitely.
pretty interesting, hasn't it? From what I've read of his life, so I was like, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope for Seb, and I hope that someone sees this and says like, how do we create a dramatic telling, a retelling of this in a period piece format,
Yeah,
and kind of whether it's show where it started and the the history of Ethiopia. I mean, it is just I
yes,
didn't know this much. A lot of the editing and the struggles I had was learning, going from being totally green and novice in filmmaking to finishing production in 2018, still being novice and green, and now I'm coming out of it going like, I wish I knew what I knew now and how it could make it
uh,
prettier and all that stuff. But the reality is that history of the 1970s, Haile Selassie, and the overthrow of the government, and how Seb's
yeah,
father was in prison, and these things are very tangential in the film, and they're not really talked about too much because it doesn't have too much to do with the A storyline in our film. But his father was in prison for political reasons. There was the Red Scare in Ethiopia of, communism was coming around and people were disappearing, and the realities of refugees trying to get out of this place. And then the overall thing that Ethiopia is the only place in sub-Saharan Africa that has never been colonized. I didn't
oh
know that.
gosh, no, I
So
didn't either. Yeah,
and so Professor Edmund Keller, he wrote a wonderful book on this. I'm not I don't know the whole depths of it. I've read it obviously, but we interviewed him, and it was just so poignant to think about. He lived in Addis Ababa when Seb was there, and same with Rick Hodes, Dr. Rick Hodes, who's in the film as well. And learning about that really kind of made me think like, okay, I know that like obviously Rastafarianism kind of comes from Ethiopia. I know that the original kings and queens of the world, we think about this, come from Ethiopia, and coffee, which I'm drinking, comes from Ethiopia, and like all of these things that Americans and just on an international level comes from this place, and also some of Artie and some of the first fossils and stuff. There's something sacred about it, and we all kind of and yet it has this these challenges and this the resource curse or whatever it would be. It's just it seems like even today, President Donald Trump, sadly enough, is talking about blow up the dam, the dam in the Tiger River, and just like
gosh,
just blow it up. And you're just like, what are you doing? It's in Tigray. Sorry, I don't know. It's just like I think I might have missaid that, but he's
okay.
blow down the dam and cause everybody to, this $2 billion project. Just get rid of it. It's just like, why do people keep treating Ethiopia wrong? So I think through the film, I learned a lot, and its storied history is really interesting.
It's incredible. I think with documentaries, they're just so popular now, aren't they? On
Mhm.
Netflix, especially, I just see so many good documentaries, and I think people are reaching out for those more now. Why do you think that is?
I think in a world where I think people are reaching out more for documentaries now than ever, because we're in a world where so many things are phony,
Yeah,
and documentaries at, at the heart are authentic, and they're just every person's story is really interesting, right? Every
yeah,
human is going through something. You and I are going through some things. Every person right now, especially, uh, is overcoming challenges that we didn't imagine and we couldn't have actually visualized. And documentaries kind of take that and they put it in a little 70 to 90-minute period of time, and they say, hey, this is this person's story, and these are these real story arcs. They're not created like
yeah.
Queen's Gambit. These are real. This is an actual thing that happened, and there's something beautifully poetic about life and how it goes on. And sometimes I love the Queen's Gambit. I don't know why I'm referencing that, but
I haven't seen that yet. I've not seen it
oh,
yet.
it's incredible.
Is it good?
Binge it tonight. It's incredible. But spoiler alert. But we always want to see someone win, right? And every just about every Hollywood film, we see the person win at the end. Rocky beats Drago. Uh,
Yeah.
Michael B. Jordan wins at the end of his fight. The A storyline wins, and there's something in documentaries, we can't control that. And so that's why I think people are very attracted to documentaries now more than ever, is because it's real and we can
Yeah.
relate to that.
And do you think it's a case of where people can kind of guess where series are going, films are going, because they're all kind of samey? I hate that when I'm watching something and I'm like, oh, I know what's going to happen next, and it does. And, very
Yeah,
rarely am I shocked by anything. And I guess in documentaries, you get the real raw thing, and it's like, whoa, that really happened, And the twists and turns of real life stuff are just more incredible than some films, right? So
yeah.
crazy. I'd like to know a bit more about your background as a director. How did you get
Sure.
into filmmaking?
Yes, I think, yeah, I got into filmmaking. My sister inspired me. So my sister, Krista Simmons, she's just this wonderful
Yes.
journalist and overall multimedia artist, producer, and food critic. And she's been on Top Chef Masters and all of these different shows. And as a judge, and she always wanted to be the star. She's like, I really believe in my abilities. She's done multiple interviews with Anthony Bourdain and wrote this show, and she had a treatment for this thing called Into the Underbelly and various
Yes.
shows like Endangered Eats is another one. And she has these great ideas, and she's such a talented writer. And she told me, we were having a Thanksgiving dinner, and she's like, nobody wants my show because I'm a woman. And I know this, things have changed since then. And this is in 2013, maybe 2012, 2013, and nobody wanted her show because they wanted to see a male traveling the world. And they said it's too similar to Anthony Bourdain, these shows.
Yeah.
And I said, why don't I just I'll get a camera. I was working at Sony. I'm not making a ton of money, but I can get $1,000 camera. You say that you just need someone to film you. I'm that someone. I like free food. I'll show up. I'll go to Portland, whatever it is. I'll do anything you want me to do for free food. That's all I need. And then bada bing, bada boom. We were shooting. We shot a pilot called Active Appetite, and then
Yes.
we also did Into the Underbelly in Portland, and it was inspiring. I found out through that like, oh, without any really, I didn't go to film school, without any knowledge of it. I actually it naturally comes to me.
Brilliant.
Compared to the other videographers who have been doing it, they went to film school. I looked side to side and I was like, huh, this is my first time, and I'm better than that. Okay, maybe I'm onto something. And
Yeah.
even just being in the kitchens and being comfortable as a big guy at the pass, seeing how it works, and being able to hear the communication like in baseball, and notice like behind, pass, fire, boom. And I was just like, I loved it. And I was just, it gives me chills right now. So it was
Yeah.
very attractive being in there. And those are my first things.
And what was it like working with your sister?
Oh my God, we are brutal.
I
What
couldn't imagine
was it
working with
like?
my brother.
Don't you don't want to imagine it. You don't want to do it. No, it is it's this juxtaposition of love and hate, and I'd say love and frustration, right?
Yeah.
We know how to push each other's buttons more than anybody. We also know how there's no getting away from it. I'll tell her, like, I can keep it real with you. I can be honest with you. And that's what hurts. That's the pain, is I'm your best friend. I'm gonna tell you what you need to hear, and she's gonna tell me what I need to hear. And we are both dramatic. I mean, she's a big spirit. I'm a big spirit, and we slam doors. And it should be a reality show watching us film each other. I don't know how nobody saw that. Like, look at these siblings. She's obviously more famous than me, and she's got this, she's technically a genius when it comes to like writing. She's just got wonderful prose and all this stuff. But really, we just know how to push each other's buttons. And I don't know how someone has not seen this. I think because we are just not honest about it, but we are brutal with each other, and it's funny, and we
Yeah.
party, we rage, and we've had the craziest times, and we've also
Yeah.
had drama and theatrics. So it is fun.
I think it was very interesting that you said that you had no video school experience, filmmaking school
Yeah.
experience and all of that. Do you think there's just more opportunities now for people who want to get into filmmaking, and you're not kind of like pushed to the back of the queue anymore? Because if you can present what you can do very well, then Does that work?
Yeah, there are no excuses. I
Yeah,
mean, I don't know what it was like in the 1970s and getting a Super 8 camera or whatever it would be. I'm sure it was much more challenging and
yeah,
developing film and understanding that. But on our cell phones, right, there's that Patton Oswalt
yeah,
YouTube clip where he's talking about everyone has more than Alfred Hitchcock has in their cell phone. So you have no excuse. If you have a story, tell it. If you have a perspective, show it. If you have
yeah,
a script, write it on Google Docs. I mean, there isn't really, Tangerine, right? Tangerine got into Sundance and it's shot on a cell phone.
yeah,
Obviously, they did light it, they did grip it, they have famous people, but that was to tell you that you can make something that gets into the biggest film festival shot on a cell phone. So I think there's something to that it's open sourced. So it's hard to get, there's 7+ billion people making content now and it's hard to get elevated, but
yeah.
the cream always rises to the top. It's just true.
Absolutely. I think that's so inspirational to hear as well. So thank you for that. With your travel documentaries, I'd like to know where your favorite place was that you went and why.
Yeah, I would say my favorite place was Ermeishan in the Chengdu province of China. And my
Okay.
sister and yeah, we were on assignment for Quest magazine, which was the first time I got published as a photographer, which was totally, I mean, that was like a hustle. I had never taken photos. I didn't know what I was doing on a Canon 5D. I was struggling getting focus. I was so rattled. I was like this, the photos, they actually luckily turned out pretty okay, but the real truth is that it's one of the four sacred Buddhism sites is up at Erme, and it was just so beautiful and spiritual, and the culture there and the food was just incredible. And the Anantara resort that we were at was completely empty. It's a beautiful resort, but it was a little creepy, if I'm going to be honest, being in a
Yeah.
hotel with like 60 people working on it. It was like very like Get Out. You're like, what is going on? Why are there 70 workers here and we're the only people staying in this gorgeous resort? And it's
Yeah.
China has that like the smog that is like this
Yeah.
gray, it's very like,
Mm,
oh my god, are we in a horror film? Why is it so
yeah.
beautiful? Why is everyone like looking over and then they look away when we look? It was just very
Yeah.
unique.
Yeah.
But that was a really cool, informative experience for me. And the
Yeah.
food was just amazing. And I got to speak Chinese. I had my spirit animal is a panda. Imagine yours is a
Really?
dragon. Yeah.
Oh.
So
Oh,
imagine
actually, I'm
yours
a
is a
rat, actually. I think I'm a rat, really.
same here. I'm a year of the rat. Yeah. But it was just cool being able to see a panda. And
Yeah.
my grandma, rest in peace, she got me a panda, stuffed animal. And so that's always been something that was fond in my heart. And I was
Yeah.
taking a photo actually of a panda, and it was so wet at the panda sanctuary, and I slipped. And my glasses, these were like, I bought really expensive glasses for some reason, slipped off my face. There's a 10-foot separation, flew off my face. I'm that oafish. And they flew off my face and went into the panda chamber. And the panda came over, slowly waddled over and sat next to him and started chewing on my glasses. And
Yeah.
so I still have these opal, they're these
Oh,
jade glasses and
yeah.
we're able to get them out, and they were not too damaged, but I have these bite marks on these nice eyeglasses. And I was just like, man, this is a cool experience
But
being
what a
able to have,
story. Where did you
right?
get those bite marks? Oh, it was a panda. It's like saying, oh, how did you get that wound? Oh, it was a shark bite. It's just, no
Oh,
one
how'd
would
you get
believe
that
you.
burn? It was from a dragon. Yeah, yeah, no, it was
Yeah.
just like, no, luckily I actually have a photo. I'll send it to you. I have a photo with the panda seated, and it's like, holding it like this, going like, what are
Oh
these?
my
And
God, that's so cute.
yeah,
Yes. What a great story. So China, you would say China
China.
has been your
Yeah,
favorite place.
China.
Cool. So just to wrap up, really, what does 2021 hold for you
Yeah,
as a
2021.
filmmaker?
Yeah, I've got a documentary titled The Grind right now. It's on former major leaguers and Japanese baseball players kind of, meeting in Chiba, which is in Tokyo. And
Yeah.
there's this team called the Chiba Lotte Marines. And I shot a documentary in 2019 there. And we're finishing up our V1 of our first assembly on that dock. So I think that will be finishing up. I also 2021, I'm starting off with what I call Super Lent, which is it's starts January 1, and I give up alcohol until the end of Lent. I don't know why. I
Now
just call
that's
it.
brutal.
There's
That's brutal.
especially right now, day 5. I like had the sweats last night. I've been doing I've been doing quarantinis for the last 9 months. I didn't know. I'm like, I got the delirium tremens. I'm just like, what is going on? But yeah, 2021. The goals are, very clear. I just posted them on my Instagram. Be grateful, just be mindful, gratitude, latitude, find a little more faith. And then obviously I want to create more passion projects, grow my business, Broken Dove. And I want to write feature comedy, because I have a strange kind of, I do scripted comedy, and then I
Yeah,
have sports documentaries. So that's my wheelhouse.
yeah.
So I want to write a feature comedy, and then I also want to produce someone else's writing and make that happen.
Okay.
And then of course land some big commercials. I just at the end of 2020 I did some bigger commercials, and I'm really excited to share those and to see how that
Wonderful.
kind of takes me to a new trajectory.
I'd love to have you back on here. I'm so fascinated with
Oh,
comedy
yeah.
writing because I just think it's the hardest genre to work in, isn't it? I mean, when you've done that, please do come back on because I'd love to
Yeah,
grill
yeah, of
you
course.
about your process
Okay.
and
Yeah,
like, how
yeah.
did you do it? And
Yeah.
please bring your
No.
sister. Please bring your sister. I'd love to
Oh,
talk to
yes, I
her
would.
as well.
Oh, I'm sure she's all about. She actually has a podcast, a Fork in the Road Media. She's got a Fork in the Road, so
Okay,
I'm sure she'd love to chat you up about it. She's so sweet. But yeah,
fantastic.
we'll definitely do one on comedy as well.
Brilliant. Well, all I can say now is just to wish you the very best for 2021 and all the best with Suffer for Good too. It just sounds incredible. And thank you so much for joining me here on the Mighty Dragon. And I'll see you
Thank
again
you.
soon.
Thank you
Take
so
care,
much.
Danny.
Take
Bye.
care. Thanks, Victoria.
Bye. Thank you for joining me on the Mighty Dragon. See you again soon.